Oh man, another year, another video. Can you guys believe this year flew by so quickly? No, really, Musi, can you believe? How's it going? My name is Vale, and this is Musi. Together, we make videos of our adventures through life, but this year was way different. Let's go back to where it all started. In January, I was home for the first time since I came out to Japan. I hadn't seen my family in over 2 years, and I got to celebrate the holidays and even my 21st birthday with them. But I couldn't just relax while I was home. There was work to do, and music to practice. Now, I wasn't just practicing for fun, because trust me, I hate practicing. I was preparing though for another audition with the Marine Corps Band. Being a professional musician has been my goal since I was back in high school. I talked about it in my video last year how I passed an audition, but I wasn't allowed to join the band because of one thing or another. Well, believe it or not, the beginning of this year didn't go very differently. I took my audition and was told it didn't count as an actual one, or something like that. When would the games end? When would I finally be able to join? I didn't have those answers, but I did know what I could do in the meantime. All right, pick up the gear. That's right. At the end of last year, I got my tab and became a martial arts instructor. And this year, I was finally able to use the tab to belt up Marines in the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program. I'm talking about 0500 PTs with Marines who want to be better and who want to get after it. This year alone, I trained around 200 Marines and I gave them the best I had. But trust me, it wasn't just my students getting after it. I was slaying myself in the gym too. But not just any gym. I'm talking about Okinawa World Ring Boxing Gym. I started training boxing mostly because I'd already been interested in learning, but also so that I can teach my students what not to do. But aside from witnessing the violence and savagery every day, Lucy had some pretty cool adventures this year, the first one being with the most important woman in the world. This year, I made my mom's dream come true, and I brought her out to visit Japan. I remember being a kid, and she told me that she had always wanted to travel to Japan. We showed her our favorite places here, and we explored together for 12 days.
What's behind us, Mom? Sensoji Temple. Are you happy?
Very happy, Musi. Are you happy?
Of course I am. I'm the happiest moose in the world.
Of course, yes.
I love you, Mom.
And I love you too.
We ended our big adventure together in Tokyo Disneyland, and I felt like a kid again.
Dude, that was amazing. But you know what's even more amazing? That I'm with my mom. The place might be beautiful, Mom, but you know what's even more beautiful? You.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Musi.
I was gonna say I'm not Vale, I'm with you.
I love you guys.
It broke my heart to spend all that time with her and then have to come back to the real world. But there were some good news waiting for me back in Okinawa. Turns out, the band was going to take the score I got on my audition back in February and use that score to allow me in. Finally, after passing multiple assessments and waiting for years, my dream was finally coming true. I've been coming to this band hall to practice since 2022, and now it was time for me to begin working here as a professional musician. I performed in ceremonies and parades, which brought me to new places. I went to Korea for the first time and performed in the Fire and Lights Festival. We went to Guam and performed in the Liberation Day Parade. And I even performed at my first concert since 2019. And I definitely want to thank all my friends that showed up to that concert, because that one really meant a lot to me. It was my first time performing in 5 years, and it meant the world to me that people went to support me. And so, I guess I lived happily ever after, right? Everything was going perfect. I had my dream job, I was making content with Musi, and I was training for my upcoming boxing match in July. Until it all went wrong. I was already overworking myself, trying to make content, learn the new job, and couldn't wait for my upcoming boxing match. But with the weight cut, I felt exhausted all the time and felt like I couldn't recover. I also wasn't losing enough weight in time, so I had to reduce my meals to 1 full meal a day and mostly salads and a bunch of water for the rest of the day. I felt drained and started doing worse in sparring. And one day while sparring, I broke my nose again. Why was I even training and putting myself through all that pain if I already had what I wanted? I didn't know, but I stopped going to the gym and I stopped training. I thought about what my past self would have thought about me now, how once I got my goal of joining the band, I fell into letting myself go and letting all my potential go to waste. But I didn't even care about all that. I was in pain, and with my new job as a musician, I can't risk injuring myself for no reason. I felt like I was at my lowest point in my life. I got what I wanted as far as music, but I felt alone. I missed my family, especially my mom, since I was just with her. Why work out anymore if I've already gotten 300s and got my tab? I didn't even want to practice music anymore because I was always so tired. I left all my friends behind at my last unit, and all I had left were the memories of me always wanting to leave. Time went on, and the event that I was supposed to fight in was coming up. I considered not going because I didn't want all the guys that I used to train with to see how miserable I was. But something told me I should go, watch the fights, and see how I feel. I went with my camera so that I can take photos of the rest of the guys from the gym. Not that I was fully part of that gym anymore, but I still went to show support. But being in that environment brought something else out of me. As I watched the fights, I knew I belonged in there. I watched all of our guys win, and I was fired up, ready to get back into training. But I gave myself time to recover and fully organize my mind before making a decision. Would I be willing to go through all that pain again, even if I already had everything I wanted? Well, the truth is, I didn't have everything I wanted. I knew I was missing a challenge in life and was taking it easy on myself. I thought I made it in life and almost forgot who I was. Before I was a musician, I was a fighter. I've been training combat sports since I was 5 years old, but I didn't believe that I deserved to call myself a boxer because I was a musician. I let self-doubt take over my mind, but I knew I was the author of my story and that I could change it at any moment. I used to think to myself, maybe it's just not meant to be, or maybe in another life. But the truth is, I only have this one life, and if I'm the author, I'll write the greatest story with this one life that I do have. I started looking at life with a different perspective. I didn't have to try to prove myself to anyone anymore. I didn't have to try to prove that I was a real musician, a real boxer, or a real anything. I could just live my life freely and be who I wanted to be. I got back into training in the gym, but this time with some of my Marines from the band. I even met up with some of my friends from my last unit, and we hiked the one and only Mount Fuji.
Just falling behind, but okay.
I graduated from Corporal's Course and received the Gung Ho Award, aka Honor Grad. Turns out I motivated my peers enough for them to vote for me. We continued to travel the world together and play music. In Tokyo, we performed at the Budokan, but more importantly, we made amazing friends and unforgettable memories. And for the first time in our lives, we've traveled to the Middle East. In Qatar, we watched our first ever influencer boxing match and explored the city of Doha. And to end the year right, I redeemed myself in the boxing ring. Our gym held a tournament, and main event Musi won his first ever boxing match. And so, considering all the ups and downs, the highs and lows of this year, I should probably ask myself, what did I learn? This year had some of the best moments in my life, as well as some of the worst. But through all the adversity, I never forgot what my ultimate goals were. No matter how many times I failed, was knocked down, or rejected, I never gave up on my dream of becoming a professional musician. And as many setbacks as I faced in my boxing journey, I still never gave up. And maybe boxing does apply to life a bit more than you'd expect. As David Goggins says, there is no shame in getting knocked out. The shame comes when you throw in the towel. And as he says in his book, Never Finished, all I can say is, I hope you and everyone else get to feel this one day. Because to overcome all obstacles and bump up against the outer reaches of your capabilities is the pinnacle. And those rare, fleeting moments, when you're washed in the sense of infinite possibility and overwhelmed with glory, everything they ever did to you or put in front of you, all the knockdowns, breakdowns, and every bit of the pain, doubt, and humiliation is worth it. But the only way to get there is to continually seek greatness and always be willing to try one more time. I never needed to make it into the band for me to be proud of myself or for me to be happy. That was a goal that I set for myself when I was back in high school, and the journey to get there has made me the man that I am today. And to anyone who's been part of our journey, just know our story is far from being over.